Roman Reigns cracks at Backlash. Roman Reigns exposed. Is Roman still untouchable? The beginning of Roman's fall. What changed for Roman Reigns? Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. What if everything we thought we knew about Roman Reigns' dominance just cracked in one single night? And what if Backlash 2026 wasn't just another stop on the calendar but the exact moment the entire empire quietly started to fall apart from the inside, piece by piece, right in front of us without most people even realizing it at first glance? And let me ask you this too, what if Roman Reigns is still winning, still standing tall, still carrying that aura, but underneath all of that, something is already broken and it's only a matter of time before everyone else finally sees it too? Because honestly, we need to talk about this properly, like real fans who actually pay attention to the details, not just the highlights, not just the finish, but everything in between, because Backlash 2026 felt different in a way that's hard to explain if you weren't really locked in. Roman Reigns has been so dominant for so long that it almost stopped feeling like a storyline and started feeling like a permanent law of the universe. You know how it is, Roman shows up, the tension builds, the bloodline stands behind him, the opponent fights hard, maybe even gets close, but in the end, Roman finds a way, and we all just accept it because that's what always happens. It became routine, almost like brushing your teeth, you don't question it, you just do it. But this time, something didn't sit right, and if you felt it too, then you already know where this is going. Roman didn't look like a man completely in control, and that's not me saying he looked weak or anything dramatic like that. Because let's be real, Roman Reigns still looks like a final boss every time he steps into that ring, but there was a tension there, a hesitation, a slight disconnect between what he expected to happen and what was actually unfolding. It's like watching someone who has always had the answers suddenly realize that the questions are changing, and that's a dangerous place to be when your entire identity is built on dominance and control. And yeah, control is the key word here. Because Roman's entire aura is built on the idea that he dictates everything, the pace of the match, the reactions of the crowd, the loyalty of his faction, even the energy of the entire arena bends around him when he's at his peak. But at Backlash, for the first time in a long time, it felt like the arena wasn't fully bending anymore, it was pushing back, just a little, but enough to notice. And you know what's funny, or maybe not funny but kind of ironic, the cracks don't show up in the big obvious moments. They show up in the small things, the pauses, the looks, the timing being slightly off, the way the crowd reacts with just a bit more uncertainty instead of that automatic belief that Roman will handle it. It's like when you're watching a movie and the main character suddenly stops feeling invincible, not because they lost, but because the story starts treating them differently, and that's exactly what this felt like. And if you're thinking I'm overanalyzing, go back and watch it again, seriously, I'll wait, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Now let's talk about the bigger picture, because this isn't just about one match or one performance, this is about what that performance represents moving forward. Backlash 2026 didn't just challenge Roman Reigns, it exposed a version of him that we haven't really seen in a long time, a version that can be pushed into uncomfortable territory, a version that doesn't have immediate control over everything happening around him, and that right there is where things start to get really interesting, because when Roman is uncomfortable, everything connected to him starts to shift as well. Think about the bloodline for a second, and yeah, I know, every time we bring them up it turns into a whole discussion, but that's the point, this entire structure has always been built around Roman being the unshakable center. He's the one who holds everything together, the leader, the decision maker, the guy who doesn't second guess himself. But what happens when that image starts to crack, even slightly? You don't need a full collapse, you don't need someone walking out dramatically, sometimes all it takes is doubt, just a small seed of it, and suddenly everything feels different. People start looking at each other a little longer, reactions start slowing down, loyalty doesn't feel as automatic, and before you know it, the strongest faction in WWE starts to feel just a little fragile. And let's not pretend the locker room isn't watching, because you know they are. Every top superstar, every challenger, every opportunist is paying attention to moments like this. All it takes is one sign that Roman Reigns might not be as untouchable as he used to be, and suddenly the entire mindset shifts. It's like when you're playing a game and the boss glitches for a second, you weren't expecting to win before, but now you're thinking, wait a minute, maybe there's a way. And that's exactly the kind of energy that starts building after a night like Backlash. Now here's where it gets even deeper, because the real issue might not be that Roman struggled, the real issue might be that the environment around him is evolving faster than he is. Yeah, that sounds wild to say, but think about it. the WWE landscape is constantly changing, new stars rising, new strategies, new alliances, new mind games, and if Roman is still relying on the same patterns that worked before, the same intimidation, the same control tactics, then eventually those patterns become predictable. And once something becomes predictable in wrestling, especially at that level, it becomes beatable. And you could feel that during the match, certain moments where the usual tricks didn't hit the same way, where the intimidation didn't completely shut everything down, where the flow of the match didn't fully belong to Roman the way it usually does. It wasn't a complete loss of control, but it was enough to raise questions, and in this business, questions are dangerous. Because once the audience starts asking questions, once the locker room starts asking questions, once even the bloodline starts asking questions, then the foundation starts to shake. Now I know some of you are sitting there thinking, okay, but Roman still walked out on top, so what are we really talking about here? And that's a fair point. It's always the easy argument: if he's still winning, then nothing has changed. But that's not how long-term storytelling works, and you know that if you've been watching for a while. The fall of someone like Roman Reigns isn't going to be a sudden moment where everything just ends overnight. It's going to be slow, uncomfortable, almost frustrating to watch at times, because you can see it coming before it actually happens. This is the kind of shift where the wins start feeling different, the reactions start changing, the confidence starts looking a little less natural, and before you even realize it, you're not watching an unbeatable champion anymore, you're watching someone trying to hold on to something that's slowly slipping away. And that's what makes this so interesting, because Roman Reigns is not the kind of character who just fades quietly. If he's going down, it's going to be dramatic, it's going to affect everyone around him, and it's going to change the entire landscape of WWE. And let's be honest for a second, part of you probably felt it too while watching Backlash, that little moment where you paused and thought, wait, is this it? Is this where things start to turn? Maybe you brushed it off, maybe you told yourself it's just another match, but that feeling doesn't come out of nowhere. That's instinct, that's you picking up on the subtle changes in the story, the kind of changes that don't get announced, they just unfold over time. So now the real question isn't whether Roman Reigns is still dominant, because he is, at least for now. The real question is whether the dominance is as secure as it used to be, or if Backlash 2026 just showed us the first real sign that things are starting to shift in a way that can't be reversed. And if that's the case, then we're not just watching another title reign, we're watching the final chapters of an era, and those are always the most unpredictable, the most emotional, and honestly, the most fun to watch. And listen, if you're enjoying this kind of breakdown, go ahead and hit that like button, because it really does help the video get pushed out to more fans who are just as invested in this stuff as we are, and if you haven't subscribed yet, now might be a good time, because if this story keeps going the way it feels like it's going, you're going to want to stay locked in for every twist and turn. But I really want to hear from you on this one, no safe answers, no sitting on the fence. Do you still believe Roman Reigns is completely untouchable, or did Backlash 2026 make you hesitate, even just for a second? Because that hesitation, that tiny bit of doubt, that's where everything begins to change. At the end of the day, Roman Reigns might still be standing, still holding power, still leading the bloodline, but something about Backlash felt like the beginning of a shift, the kind that doesn't make noise right away but grows louder over time until it can't be ignored anymore. And when that moment finally comes, when the cracks turn into breaks and the control finally slips away, it's going to hit harder than anything we've seen in years. So keep watching closely, pay attention to the details, because the story just changed, whether people want to admit it or not, and we might be witnessing the slow, dramatic unraveling of one of the most dominant runs in WWE history. And yeah, thank you for watching, I really appreciate you being here, and I'll catch you in the next one.